Welcome to the first episode of The Moody Project, reporting here in Savannah, Georgia. I'm Stephen Moody, TV reporter in the morning, sleeper in the afternoons, and podcaster at night. I want to let you guys know you can follow me on Twitter at Stephen Moody TV. You can follow this show right here at The Moody Project on Twitter as well. Thank you all for joining me. The music that you're hearing right now is provided by C.N.I.C.E. You can find them on Twitter as well at Sounds Like Nice. Now, this has always been a pet project of mine, and I'm so glad to finally get this out to all of you guys. I just hope that you enjoy it and come back for episode 2 as well. So, what is the Moody Project? It took a while for this format to come together, but here we are. And I like to describe it as a show that's a hub for all of the content and entertainment that you already enjoy, like music, movies, sports, and all the other entertainment, all from the mind of a man who knows nothing about any of those things. So thanks for listening, and let's get it started. Now, every week I'm going to start just by catching everybody up on everything that's been going on. I want to first start out with the top 5 albums on the Billboard Top 200 provided by Billboard. You can find that at billboard.com. Number 1, debuting at number 1 is Iridescence by Brockhampton. Number 2 is Bridges by Josh Groban. Number 3 is Kamikaze by Eminem. Number 4 is Scorpion by Drake. And number 5 is Astroworld by Travis Scott. Now, those numbers are bound to change by the time that you hear this. And Lil Wayne's The Carter 5 is expected to debut at number 1. Now, for the weekend box office, debuting at number 1, Night School featuring Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish. Number 2 is Smallfoot. Number 3, The House with a Clock in Its Walls. Number 4, Simple Favor. And number 5 is The Nun. And that's just catching up everybody on the top 5 in both Billboard and on the box office. Here's my Netflix standout of the week. Maniac, starring Jonah Hill and Emma Stone. Now, I just mentioned The Carter 5. At the time of recording this, that is the number 1 new album that debuted over the weekend. Number 2 being, of course, Young Sinatra by Logic. We'll get into those album reviews a little bit later, but let's address the album that didn't come out. I'm, of course, talking about Yandhi by Kanye West, and it's safe to say that Kanye, and he's been that way for years, but more now than ever, he is the most controversial figure in all of music, all genres. It doesn't matter if it's hip-hop, country, rock, pop, R&B. Kanye West is on everybody's mind. And over the weekend, he was on the premiere of SNL, Adam Driver hosted, and he performed 3 times, once with Lil Pump, the second time with Tiana Taylor, and the third with a whole cast of people for Ghost Town to close out the show, something that's unprecedented for SNL. And the album was actually supposed to come out on that day. It did not. We haven't heard anything else since, except that it's now going to come out in November. That came from his wife, Kim Kardashian, and her Twitter. Now, Mike Dean on Twitter is helping out Kanye with this project, and when asked about it being delayed, he said, "Do you want crap or do you want quality?" Mike Dean also posted something very interesting from after the show. Now, most of you people who are listening, I don't know if you're going to be on the East Coast like I am or not, but if you are on the East Coast, SNL cut out during the middle of the Ghost Town performance. It had gone over time. It was running long, so NBC pulled the plug. Apparently, for Mike Dean, that wasn't the case, and you got a chance to see the entire performance, plus Kanye West giving a speech after the show. I'm going to play a little bit from that speech provided by Mike Dean himself, and I'll give you guys a second to listen to that and gather your own opinion, and we'll be back after this. Here's Kanye West on Mike Dean's Twitter. This is his speech after performing Ghost Town on SNL.
Scream at me. They bully me. They bullied me backstage. They said, "Don't go out there with that hat on." They bullied me backstage. They bullied me. And then they say, "I'm in a sunken place." You want to see the sunken place? Okay. I'm going to listen to y'all now. Or I'm going to put my Superman cape on. Because this means you can't tell me what to do. Follow your heart and stop following your mind. That's how we're controlled. That's how we're programmed. If you want the world to move forward, try love. Thank y'all for giving me this platform.
And I'm actually going to stop it right there. That's on twitter.com/TheRealMikeDean if you want to view that video in its entirety. There's only about a minute left in that video, but I want you guys to gather your own opinion on what Kanye said. Now let's get to the music that was released. Lil Wayne, The Carter 5. Let's start right there. It's going to be the number 1 album in the country. It's going to be Lil Wayne's 4th number 1 album as well. And let's go ahead and just start out. We're not going to read the entire track list. I'm just going to read some standouts to me. Don't Cry, which is the first song on the album. The second track, but the first actual song on the album featuring XXXTentacion. Lil Wayne had a bar in there which was really, really clever of him. He said, I need a triple extension on my afterlife. Rest in paradise. So a nod there to X, who passed away, unfortunately, over the summer. And then Dedicate, featuring 2 Chainz. It's a sample from the Collie Grove mixtape that him and 2 Chainz did a few years ago. But the biggest standout, and it's not really a surprise, but the biggest standout on this album is Uproar, which uses the special delivery beat. As a New Yorker myself, I love hearing that beat, and I love hearing Wayne's New Orleans accent over that beat. And I love seeing everybody on Instagram doing an Uproar challenge. It makes me just smile ear to ear just hearing that beat everywhere that I go now. Great song. You guys can stream that on all the streaming services right now. It's available anywhere that music is sold. Finally, after about a 4 or 5 year wait, we finally get this music that Wayne has wanted us to hear, and it came as advertised. It's a fantastic project. I encourage everybody to listen to it. I also encourage everybody to listen to Young Sinatra 4 by Logic. This is Logic's second project of the year, following Bobby Tarantino 2. And once again, Logic proves, yes, he can rap. I don't think there's ever been a doubt that he can rap, but some people still doubt it. So yes, he had his album come out as well. This album was 14 songs, not a lot of features, but the features that he did have were impactful, including the entire Wu-Tang Clan. And, of course, Wale was on here as well, Haley Steinfeld, and Jaden Smith, him flipping that icon beat. Now, the single that he's choosing to run with for commercial purposes, he even performed it, I believe, on the Today Show, was One Day featuring Ryan Tedder. The entire album does not sound like One Day featuring Ryan Tedder. So I don't know if that's going to be your thing or not, but I encourage you to listen to the project and come up with your own conclusions. I'm going to be talking to my boy Charles Jackson, a.k.a. C.N.I.C.E, later on in the podcast to get his ideas and get his to pick his brain pretty much about the beats that were chosen. He is a producer. He produced the song that you heard as this podcast came on. So we'll get to him in a little bit to get the full breakdown on some of these beats as well. I know he has a lot of opinions that he wants to share with that. But the NBA preseason is here. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes as well. You're listening to The Moody Project with me, Stephen Moody. Stay tuned.
I'm a fun guy. Obviously, I love the game of basketball. I mean, there's just more questions you have to ask me in order for me to tell you about myself. I just can't give you a whole spiel. I don't even know where you're sitting at.
Welcome back to The Moody Project. I just wanted to get that out of the way. That's the new star forward for the Toronto Raptors, Kawhi Leonard, former finals MVP from the San Antonio Spurs, now in the six representing the Toronto Raptors. That was him at Media Day. And if you haven't heard that clip by now, I'm honored that you chose my podcast to hear it for the first time. That clip immediately went viral. Everybody's reacting to it. There's even a video of Kevin Hart on ESPN reacting to it. Everybody just loves that laugh. And this is a side of Kawhi Leonard that we haven't seen because, honestly, we haven't seen or heard from Kawhi Leonard. So we're glad to have him back. And I'm also glad to have the NBA back. Now, at the time of recording this, we're less than 2 weeks away from opening night in the NBA. We're also knee-deep in the NFL season with another week coming up. And we're also in the beginning of the NHL season and the MLB postseason as well. So all sports all the time. If you're a sports guy or girl, and if you love the fall time, well, I have a week for you. This is it. And we've seen the preseason kickoff with LeBron's debut in an LA uniform. We saw the Knicks face the Wizards as well. Everybody has gotten a chance to play. We've seen Carmelo Anthony in a Rockets uniform. So I want to get your opinion to see who you think is going to walk away with the NBA championship. If it's not Golden State for the third consecutive year and the fourth in 5 years, who is it? Let me know on my Twitter page as well. I'm really pushing that Twitter page because I want to hear from you guys. I want this to be an interactive podcast. I want you guys to let me know what you think so I can incorporate your opinions into this podcast and make this our podcast. That sounded cheesy and cliche, but I promise we can make it work. Speaking of making it work, GMs in the NBA made it work, specifically in Los Angeles, where they were able to land the king of the land and lure him away from the land and bring him to, you guessed it, La La Land. LeBron James, the biggest free agent in all of the NBA, landed in Los Angeles with the Los Angeles Lakers. And the GM survey, which was recently released by NBA.com, 30% of GMs think that LeBron James will walk away as the NBA Kia MVP. He also won that vote last year, but it was 50%. Let's get to some more results from that as well. If you're starting a franchise today and could sign any NBA player in the NBA, who would it be? 30% of general managers chose Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks. Number 2, Anthony Davis with 23%, which is interesting because he didn't even crack the top 5 last year, so it's good to see the Brow getting some love by the association. Now, there was something that was very, very interesting that I want to point out. And of course, it's no secret that the Los Angeles Lakers were voted as the top team that made the overall moves in the offseason. But let's go ahead and go with the most surprising move of the offseason. 35% of general managers voted DeMarcus Cousins going to Golden State as the biggest surprise. Now, who will win the 2018-19 Rookie of the Year? 43% of general managers chose Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks. Luka, of course, was selected by the Mavs. They got their guy. If he would have came out in the draft a couple of years ago, he probably would have been the consensus number 1. That belongs to DeAndre Ayton, and that's where the surprise lies. He's 4th on this list, behind Marvin Bagley III and Wendell Carter Jr. What do you guys think about that? The number 1 overall pick is voted 4th as projected 2018-2019 Rookie of the Year. Giannis Antetokounmpo, no surprise, voted Best International Player in the NBA, and Best Coach in the League went to Boston Celtics and their head coach, Brad Stevens. Let me know, do you think the GMs got it right? You can also visit NBA.com/GM survey/2018 to see all of those results by yourself. Now, coming up in a few minutes, we're going to talk to Charles Jackson, like I mentioned before, on the Moody and Friends segment. This is the Moody Project. We'll be back. We are back again. This is our second attempt at doing this because live on location because the first time we tried to do this, the file got corrupted. So thanks Audacity for that. But we're back now here on Tybee, and we're discussing once again Logic's album Young Sinatra 4. I have Charles Jackson, aka C.N.I.C.E, aka the nice producer, here with me. Your opinions on the album, just kind of tell me what you thought about it.
Logic's album was great. It was great if you're a hip-hop fan. It's great if you're a fan of rap. It was even better because all the production seemed to be really well put together. You know, everything kind of congealed into this perfect meal of an album for us to digest for years and years to come. I think you mentioned the first time around we did this that it was birthed a classic. It's going to continue to be a classic for years.
Yeah, and I think for an artist who continuously puts out albums like he does, this is the second album that he's put out this year. Bobby Tarantino 2 was the first one that he put out earlier this year. He just continues to get better. And we were talking about the beat selection on this album. I thought all of the beats that he picked were perfect, but in particular, I thought Street Dreams. And there was another song on there as well, the feature with Wale, the 100 Miles and Running. I thought that was crazy.
Man, that whole track, I've listened to that song probably like 400 times since this album came out, and it was just perfect. I like how he went into like the triplet rapping flow, like back from like the 90s. Like I like how he brought that back. And I really feel like between Logic and like Twister and maybe Corey Guns, those are like the only 3 guys that could actually like pull that off, if ever. And I want to put money on, I want to battle with, not a battle, but I want to see a track done with like Logic and either one of those 2 other guys that I named or even Terminology, just to see who can keep up.
You remember earlier this year when he recorded 44 More. We saw that process of him continuously messing up and getting better. I want to see how many times it took him to get through that last verse from 100 Miles and Running, because that was just crazy to me.
I feel like it took him like one time, truth be told. You know, when you practice and practice and practice, especially something like that, it's like 1 part love, 2 parts repetition. So if he was just even spitting that stuff to him by himself and then flipped it all those other ways just for fun, I feel like, you know, the fun ways just came natural, and the only thing he had to really hone in on and work on is just the bar, like what he was saying.
Now, one of the tracks which has been a huge topic of discussion, I know especially among us, has been the Wu-Tang Forever track. 7 minutes, over 7 minutes, him and the entire Wu-Tang Clan. Just kind of talk about that beat and what you saw, what you liked, what you didn't like about it.
The only thing that I didn't like about the beat, the length of it was fine because it's a Wu-Tang track and he had all the people that he could on there. So I expected it to be almost 10 minutes long. But the only thing I didn't like was you got bored after a little while. And I think it's more so because, you know, the real Wu-Tang fans or the real, you know, people that follow the Wu-Tang lore in general, you're looking for that, you know, the martial arts aspect of it. You're looking for the karate chops and the scenes out of old, you know, kung fu movies and all that stuff. Like, and sometimes that's what you like, you know, especially me because I'm a little older than you are. Like, I miss that about Wu-Tang albums and about music in general. How nobody has like skits out of movies to kind of paint the picture of what they're about to be talking about on track. So I feel like it was a good song, but you just get bored after a certain amount of time after listening to that beat and it doesn't switch up or anything.
Remember Kill Jill came out earlier
Yeah.
this year? Yeah, I felt like that's exactly what you're talking about. That's right up your alley. So it's safe to say Logic is probably going to debut at number 2 with Young Sinatra 4. Carter 5 is probably going to debut at number 1. And I told you the charts earlier. Shout out to Brockhampton for debuting number 1 with their new album as well. Featuring the new albums, T.I. dropped his album last night.
Surprise.
And, yeah, surprise. And I say it's a surprise, but he dropped the track list last week, Dime Trap. And it features Sam Hook, Wash the Duck, Yo Gotti, Young Thug, Victoria Monet, Anderson .Paak, Meek Mill, Jeezy, YFN Lucci, Tiana Taylor, and London J. Now, out of all of those, I don't know if you've heard any of the album yet, but out of all of those features, which one are you most looking forward to?
The Anderson .Paak.
I can tell you that you're not going to be disappointed. That song is a standout for me. Another standout, I've only gotten to that song, and then I cut it off after that. The Weeknd featuring Young Thug, that was the first single from the album. And I like the way Thug sounds on this. I think Young Thug has had a very productive year. So what are you looking for in this T.I. album since you haven't heard it yet?
I'm expecting a little bit of the old tip, some of the new tip, and a little bit of politics in between. I feel like T.I. is one of those artists that can hone in on his past, present, and future and do it all in one breath. And a lot of people struggle with talking about things that they've gone through. And a lot of fans really struggle with, you know, people saying that, oh, you can't keep rapping about trapping if you got millions of dollars and, you know, your name is all over the globe, that kind of stuff. So I feel like we could get a happy mix of politics and trap business as usual and just some overall hard bars from T.I., man. He's the king.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because he mentioned at the end of that song with Young Thug that, you know, there are levels to trapping and what he described as his progression in his career. He's very, very open about the mistakes that he's made in the past, not only in his marriage, but in life as well. And it doesn't at all come off as hypocritical. It comes off as a man who's just shown as a reflection in his life. Yeah. And who's always been open with his fans. So, of course, he's going to be open with his part of his life as well. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, Dime Trap by T.I. is available now on all streaming services, Spotify, Apple, whatever you go to listen to your music. You can find that there. Before we get out of here, Lil Baby and Gunna dropped their Drip Harder mixtape to critical acclaim so far. It's been trending on Twitter all morning long. What are you looking forward with their project? I know we were talking about Lil Baby being an artist to watch in our last conversation.
I feel like I'm still going to stick behind what I said about that. Like, I feel like Lil Baby is going to make some noise within the years to come. He might even make some noise in the new year, like coming into 2019, you know. I feel like for everybody that Drake kind of co-signs and then they kind of just fall by the wayside, he's going to be the one that actually takes the ball and just goes for the touchdown every single time. You know, when Drake did the song with Popcorn and everything, I was hoping that Popcorn would have made it more mainstream over here in the U.S. than he does in Jamaica. But at the same time, you know, I understand why it didn't. And I also understand that happens to a lot of artists. Just, you know, you're riding the coattails of superstars out here. So it happens, but I fully expect to see Lil Baby and this project, you know, make some waves and for him to be around for a little bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the case for a lot of new artists. But it's hip-hop and it's 2018, and it seems like every hip-hop artist that's released an album this year is eating, fortunately, because there's enough money to go around. And as soon as artists start realizing that, the sooner we'll get the collabs and the different projects that we're getting. Quavo announced that his new album is going to drop next week.
I'm excited about that.
I am too. I feel like him as a solo artist, we've gotten him on every feature. I want to see how he's able to hold that sound for an entire project just by himself. And of course, he's gonna have his friends there as well. Drake is gonna be on the album as
Do
well.
you think he's gonna Justin Timberlake the situation and like it's gonna be like
A different genre
at
completely?
not a different genre, but like at some point it's gonna be Quavo Huncho. Like it's gonna be more of that than Migos.
You think he's gonna step out of the limelight of?
of the Migos?
No, because I feel like Migos still has a lot of money to be made. Migos, they're the official artist of the MLB playoffs, which is a huge bag for them because, you know, when you think baseball, you usually don't think Migos and vice versa. So they're becoming more mainstream this year, and it's happening really, really fast. Remember last year with Katy Perry's album and how they were on that single, and they were just everywhere last year. You know, Camila Cabello, Quavo had a feature on her album. I just think right now he's playing it smart and he's investing because Offset did the same thing. Remember him and 21 Savage on, you know, Without Warning, which I would love it Without Warning too. I think it's gonna be good. I think he's gonna be good, and I think it's gonna benefit the Migos in general. I don't think it's gonna be a situation because all three of them are talented.
Right. I would love to be able to like hear a Takeoff album. I don't know exactly what the hell it'll sound like because sometimes he'll jump in the tracks and it'll be like, wait, well, how did he say? Like, how did he say that? Or you know what I mean? Like, especially since the whole BET thing where you couldn't understand what he was saying at all through the whole thing. But I fully expect, you know, each of these guys' solo projects to be, as this big ass truck goes by, I fully expect all these solo projects because I feel like they're gonna happen. They're all gonna have to do a solo piece. They should all be pretty good, and I feel like out of the three, it'll go this in the long run. It'll be Offset, Quavo, Takeoff.
Okay, and of course, Ella May as well. She released her track list on her Twitter page. Chris Brown is on there. They actually released a single today.
Oh, wow, really?
With Chris Brown, and hers going to be on the album too. That's going to be a sad song. I might stay in the house with that album.
Do you think this is going to curve on people saying that Jacquees's remixes of her songs are better?
I don't know.
It's a little spicy out here.
It's a little spicy. DJ Mustard and his label, he released a statement saying she had nothing to do with it. It was all him and his label. I mean, if you think that he's trying to monetize and make money off of it, then fine, go ahead, do what you have to do. But if you look at his case, where he usually does flip these songs and make it into his own, it wasn't like he was doing a whole entire rollout with it. He did a YouTube video, which he does with a lot of his projects,
right.
And he put it on SoundCloud. But trying to monetize off it, I don't know. I just feel like his project, whenever he releases his own stuff, this is going to help him more than it's going to hurt her, if that makes sense. Because she's going to sell regardless, because she's super talented, and these features are well placed, and I haven't seen Mustard miss yet with a new artist. So I'm excited for that. Sheck West also had Mudboy come out, 6ix9ine, Tekashi 6ix9ine, Stupid featuring Bobby Smurda, and Anderson .Paak. I know you don't want to talk about singles, you just want the project.
I want the project.
But he released Tense featuring Kendrick Lamar.
Haven't heard it yet, but I'm very, very, very excited to get into it. I need that whole Anderson .Paak album. I need that whole Schoolboy Q album. I need some work out of the West. I need all that. I need it bad. Like, those guys, working with Dre, I feel like when you work with, like, a pillar like that in hip-hop, you can only have good music to come out of it. Like, you're not going to have a bad project come out of that at all, especially if he's put his ear to it and put his spin on it.
Speaking of new projects that I know it's not going to be bad, you're a 21 Pilots fan, right?
I am.
Cool. They released their new album, Trench, which their rollout has been very quiet, but they've had some really good singles. Jumpsuit was the first single, and Nico and the Niners. They've been kind of releasing songs each week, kind of like the Good Friday stuff that Kanye was doing, and each one of them has been good. Nico and the Niners is the standout for me. I feel like that's the perfect song to bring into the fall. So I'm excited for that. Other news in hip-hop, Jay-Z and Beyonce wrapped up their On the Run tour. Drake and the Migos tour is still going. Have you had a chance to see any of these shows?
Nah, not really. And I thought about, just because we're here in Savannah, I thought about trying to catch that Migos show in Atlanta with Drake. But at the same time, you know, I'm one of those old school kind of guys. Like, I would rather have the album than the experience.
Yeah, but before my time on this earth is done, I hope I get a chance to see Jay-Z.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely want to see Hov.
Preferably in the Garden.
Yeah.
Their tour is finished, and closing comments here. So we're talking about the Drake tour, and we're talking about the Hov tour. The On the Run tour was actually in Atlanta on my birthday, August 25th.
And you
guess
didn't
where
go?
I was? No, guess where I was?
Jacksonville.
No, I was in Orlando.
Oh wow.
Universal Studios, depressed, just walking around the happiest place on earth, upset.
And you had full range to just go to the A and just check out the show.
Yeah, and then the next morning, I'm with my mom, and I look on Twitter, fan jumps on stage during Jay-Z and Beyonce show. Oh, that's crazy. Let me check out and read the story. Yeah, during the On the Run 2 tour in Atlanta last night,
fire.
Yeah.
You missed a fire. That could have been you.
It could have been, but I was in Orlando. Shout out to Mickey Mouse. But I want to thank you for doing this again. This is our second attempt.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd rather just happen now, but this episode will still be released on time. Thanks to you, Charles, and I appreciate just the effort as well. Check him out on Twitter at Sounds Like Nice, and shout out your SoundCloud account too.
SoundCloud.com/SoundsLikeNice. I'm trying to keep updated on there. Everything that I put on there is eligible to be sold. That's any beat, anything. I'm always willing to go back in and rework something if an artist needs me to tweak anything for their comfortability on the song. And yeah, man, hit me up. I'm on Twitter. I'm out here.
And that goes for any SoundCloud artist or any independent musician in general. I want to highlight your work on my podcast. We're all content creators. We all want to have our work heard. Let's help each other out. Hit me up on Twitter at TheMoodyProject. Hit me with a DM and tell me about your song. Tell me about who you are. Let's start up a dialogue. And that goes for any genre as well. We do not discriminate. This isn't just a hip-hop podcast. This is a pop, rock, R&B podcast. Let's help each other out. Once again, that's The Moody Project on Twitter. Once again, thank you, Charles, for joining us on the show, and we'll be back after this. That's going to do it for the first episode of The Moody Project. I cannot thank you guys enough for joining me for the first episode. This has been years in the making. I'm glad to finally be able just to share this with you guys. If you enjoyed it, then come back for next week. If you didn't, we'll give it another try next week as well. I want to thank Charles Jackson, aka C.N.I.C.E, for joining me as well for that last segment. He's going to be a big player on this podcast. And remember to follow me on Twitter at StephenMoodyTV and follow the show at The Moody Project. Once again, thank you guys for joining me. And finally, I just want to say rest in peace, Mac Miller. Thank you.